Hey, it's Robbie McCarty here with Patriot Crawl Space Repairs, and today I want to talk about crawl space encapsulation. So, crawl space encapsulation's gotten some mixed reputations over the years, and I think one of the reasons is that it gets heavily over packaged and oversold by a lot of big crawl space companies, and it kind of gets turned into a one size fits all package or system, which it really isn't. That's not really how it should be designed and constructed, especially in coastal regions like Hampton Roads, Virginia. So what's happened over the years is that crawl space encapsulation has really turned into always having a sealed liner around the walls and foundation piers, along with the dehumidifier and sealed vents. And the issue with that in coastal Virginia is that our water tables fluctuate a lot throughout the year. So if somebody encapsulates a crawl space during a little bit drier season, and then you end up having groundwater issues down the road, and you put a sealed liner in that crawl space, then mold will form on the underside of that liner. And it's really expensive to correct because you have to rip out that whole expensive encapsulation or sealed liner. In coastal regions, we typically recommend to install a pinned liner with sealed vents and a dehumidifier. Keeping that outside air out is really what's controlling the humidity along with the dehumidifier. And if you do have a groundwater issue, that needs to be addressed through either exterior grading or an interior drain and pump. But the liner doesn't cure either of those things. It really just looks nice for pictures. But another thing it does is get in the way of inspectability and create durability issues in low coastal crawl spaces with a lot of groundwater fluctuation. So what we prefer to do is keep that foundation wall to ground connection able to be inspected, where you can pull a pinned liner back and see if you're having water intrusion issues. And if you do realize that there are larger issues down the road than you thought there were, it's easier to correct because you're not ripping out this fully sealed system. So those are the failure points that a pin vapor barrier addresses. So that's just one example of why encapsulation shouldn't be a cookie cutter system, and some things are different in coastal regions than maybe mountain regions. What encapsulation really is keeping the outside humid air out of the crawl space and using mechanical ventilation instead of outside air ventilation in the form of a dehumidifier primarily, or sometimes conditioned air supply, which we don't recommend a whole lot. Usually we're recommending a pin vapor barrier, sealed vents, and a dehumidifier. Then of course, other things come along with encapsulation like groundwater maintenance, sump pumps, drainage, just depending on what issues you're seeing at your property. And you may need mold cleaning, wood repairs, insulation, what have you, just depending on what state the property is in when we get there. But essentially, encapsulation is just keeping the humid air out and keeping the space dry, and it's a mechanism for doing that. It's not just about a sealed white vapor barrier. That's the problem with it and what's occurred throughout the years, because companies pitch that white vapor barrier because it's pretty, looks good in pictures, and just gives a visual for them to sell the product, without explaining what's really doing the heavy lifting and the work in that encapsulation system, which is mainly the air sealing and the dehumidifier. So I hope this kind of clarified what encapsulation is, what it does, what the most important parts of it are, and some things to consider in coastal crawl spaces versus maybe other areas of the country. If you want me to take a look at your home or your crawl space and give you any recommendations based on any issues you're having, give us a call, visit our website. Again, my name's Robbie McCarty with Patriot Crawl Space Repairs. I hope this video was helpful, and make it a great day.